Most people choose the wrong helmet. Let's talk about why that is. First of all, who am I to speak on this subject? Well, I've been fitting helmets for about 5 years. I've fit hundreds and hundreds of people for helmets, if not well over 1,000 at this point. I learned from a guy who was sponsored by RI when he road raced professionally back in the 90s, as well as somebody who actively coaches motorcycles at a track. These guys seem to really know their stuff, and their foundations have held up over the time that I have fitted helmets myself. So let's start with number 5. Buying solely based on manufacturer recommended size, based on a measurement. These are often wrong and they don't account for head shape or cheek pad structure at all. If you want to learn more about that, please check out my video called How a Motorcycle Helmet Should Fit. In that video, I go into more why measurements are just a starting point and not a definitive guideline. Number 4, buying what immediately feels comfortable. Helmets break in, so they need to be tight. They need to be tighter than most people realize, because if they pack out and then they're too loose, they're not going to do as good of a job protecting you. So they need to be tight. Not pressure points, not hurting, but tight all the way around the crown. Number 3, thinking a helmet should be easy to get on. A new helmet especially is going to be difficult. And if you're not used to putting on a full face helmet, it's going to feel really tight. I see a lot of people pick up a helmet and they'll go to try it on and they'll just stop at the cheek pads. They'll go right here and be like, oh, it's too tight, I can't get my head in there, I'm gonna get stuck. No, you have to get past the cheek pads, because cheek pads, the bottom of the helmet, the base of it, is the smallest opening. If a helmet is too easy to get on, it's going to be too easy to fly off your head as well. So you have to get past that first point. And if you want to learn more about how a motorcycle helmet should fit, again, go back to that video called How a Motorcycle Helmet Should Fit. I talk about opening up these straps so that you can get your head in, and then what you should check once your head is actually in. But you have to be a little bit brave and squeeze your head through that first part where the cheek pads are in order to actually get into the right size. This is probably one of the biggest reasons that people just choose the wrong size. A helmet should not just slip onto your head. It should be a little bit difficult to get on. Number 2, sizing up to compensate for pressure points. Pressure point means go to a different helmet. It usually means it's the wrong shape. Helmet should be tight, but it should be evenly tight all the way around your head. Shouldn't be any pressure on the forehead or pushing on the sides, anything like that. A pressure point means go to a different helmet, right? It needs to be snug, but it shouldn't be concentrating force into one or two spots. I want you to make note that most of these are pointing to getting a helmet that is too big too. Honorable mentions, so these didn't make the top 5, but they can still be reasons that you end up in the wrong helmet. First one's going to be buying for brand, especially if you're a new rider and you're not familiar with the brands and you're just buying the brand that you know. That's not a good way to get the right helmet. There are a lot of good brands out there, and we need to be a little more open about finding something that fits us. I see a lot of people come in, they've been marketed too heavily, or maybe an influencer recommended a certain brand, and maybe that helmet is right for that influencer. I don't know, but the thing is, you need to get the helmet that's for you, and that means having an open mind to the different head shapes and finding what's going to fit you. Being fixated on a brand just because you recognize it and you're familiar with it and your friends use it or an influencer uses it is a really good way to make sure that you don't get the optimal fit. Maybe that helmet does fit you, but you should try the other helmets first to confirm it, not just assume that because you like the brand. Buy a helmet for fit and safety, not brand. Honorable mention number 2, buying what you've always worn, even if you've never been professionally fitted. So I have run into people that, have been in the wrong helmet for a decade or more, and they just double down because that's the brand they use, that's what's comfortable, that's what they know, and that's not the way to go about it. Unless you've actually been trained or fitted by somebody with experience specifically in helmet fitment, not somebody who's a talented rider. They can be a talented rider, but they also have to be trained specifically in helmet fitment. Unless you've been fitted by somebody with experience in that realm, chances are there is a better helmet out there for you. Honorable mention number 3, buying a used helmet. I am not against used gear. Marketplace your jacket. Go to Marketplace to get boots, gloves. I don't care, but the helmet is not a good idea. It could be expired, it could be old. Even if you check the date stamp, it could have been stored improperly. You don't know where that helmet's been. It could have been in the back of somebody's trunk all summer long, experiencing drastic shifts in temperature that's going to accelerate the wear and tear of that helmet. Could have been in somebody's garage where it gets really hot all the time. You don't know. The other thing is, helmets are designed to pack out to the user's head shape. They're designed to be tight when you get them and then form to your head. So if you're buying a used helmet, that means that helmet has been formed to somebody else's head and you're not going to get quite as good as a fit as you could have gotten if you got a new helmet that broke in specifically to you. The number one reason you're probably going to choose a wrong helmet is if you buy a helmet online. I was guilty of this when I first started out. I came from mountain biking and Bell helmets from the mountain bike scene fit my head well, so I just assumed that Bell helmets would fit my head well on motorcycles, but they don't, and I didn't know it until I learned more about fitment and what that entails and how to check for a proper fitting helmet. Yeah, don't buy your first helmet online. Go actually try stuff on. If you buy online, again, especially if it's your first helmet, then you have no reference point of what it should feel like. You might buy something and convince yourself it's good because you have a course coming up or because you don't feel like going through the return process and all that, or you think it feels good, but you haven't been checked to know if it's actually safe. So I really don't recommend buying online. That's probably the number one thing that's going to prevent you from getting the correct helmet for your head and your style of riding. That's all I got for today. If you like this content, please hit the subscribe and like button as well as the notification bell so you don't miss any new content. And if you have any questions or concerns, please leave them in the comments below. Always try my best to get back to people. See you next week.